Hey Max and Greg. So as per your request, I wanted to make a review video for your website about speed. So the first thing I'm going to test is just the load time. So I'm holding Control Shift and press R to reload everything. Ignore the cache, and the speed is pretty decent. I'll go further into that, but the first thing I did was check for the W3C markup validation service. So that's validator.w3.org. And when I entered your address, I saw that you have two errors. This is a critical error, and the validator won't continue. So it's complaining that the script element between head and body, so it says that this optimizely script is between the head and body. I don't know where you insert it, but something's wrong. So I went and took a look at your source for the page, and I can see here is the head. It ends here. Then you insert the script, and then the body comes in. So what I would do is move this script into the head or in the bottom of the document. That would make the validator able to check for other errors on your site. Now, for your website speed, Google's tool called PageSpeed Insights is presenting here the score for your website. It's 65 out of 100 for mobile and 83 out of 100 for desktop, which is not that bad, but there are some things that you can do to improve. So the first thing is eliminating the render blocking JavaScript and CSS in above the fold content. When I take a look at that, I can see that you have a lot of JavaScript scripts that are being loaded, and you can actually concatenate all of these or most of these using the plugin Optimize. That should reduce the number of scripts and make your website a bit faster. Now, the CSS files are also a problem. So you have a lot of CSS files, and all of these files, they make the website stay blank until the browser has actually fetched all of these things, and then the website will be displayed. This takes a bit of time for the browser to display the page. Prioritize the visible content. Now, that will happen automatically, usually when you eliminate the render blocking JavaScript and CSS, basically make them into a couple of files, and preferably use the CSS so it's inline in the header, and the JavaScript so it is async, basically. Leverage browser caching. So here are a couple of things that need to be, you need to configure the browser caching. It's basically the logo. You can set that in W3 total cache, and set the expiration for this file or files of this type. Reduce the server response time. This will happen when you cache your pages, and that will reduce the server response time quite a bit. Minify the JavaScript. So there are some files that have extra white space and extra characters that don't need to be there for the browser to render the page. Minify the CSS. The same thing here. This will actually happen automatically using the Optimize, and minify the HTML. You can do that in the Optimize as well. When I tested the actual speed of the site, it was pretty quick. So the load time is actually 2.5 seconds, which is fairly good. You have 54 requests, and that's pretty decent. But you can lower that even further by joining all the JavaScript files and the CSS files together. So if we take a look at this here, we can see that when I go to your site, it takes about 559 milliseconds to actually display, get the initial HTML content. Now, when you enable browser caching or page caching, you will reduce this time down to about 0.2 to 0.3 seconds. So that will shave, shave this down to almost 2 seconds. When you take all of the CSS files and concatenate them all into a single file or a couple of files, you will actually reduce the CSS footprint, and that will possibly shave 200-300 milliseconds off the site. The same with JavaScript. So most of these requests are JavaScript and CSS. There's only a couple of images, so that's really good. And Google PageSpeed doesn't mention images, so it's in the past rules. You've got your images optimized, which is fantastic. So these are the things I recommend that you do. Set up page caching, fix the optimizely script in the page header, and concatenate the CSS files and the JavaScript files, and your website will actually be a lot faster. I would not be surprised to see it go down to 1.5 seconds. So that's it for your website. Of course, I can help you do this if you want, but if you want to do it on your own, that's perfectly all right as well. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and shoot me an email saying if you liked it or if you hated it. All right, that's it for now. Thanks, guys.